Welcome back to the channel. In this video, I wanted to give a little shout to 4th of July. I am wearing one of my favorite hats. This is the perfect day to wear it, and it is just a gorgeous day. A lot of beautiful stuff happening. And I thought I'd get on here, make a little video of maybe some 4th of July ghost stories. I have about 3. They're not my own. I just thought I'd share some because it's kind of neat. It is a wonderful ghostly holiday, and I wanted to take this little walk and share 2 or 3 ghost stories involving the holiday, because I must say, as far as these days that are rife with potential for haunted ghost story possibilities, 4th of July has quite a few. So let's take a walk and let's enjoy this holiday with some old ghosts. Happy 4th. I was watching the fireworks last night, and I was kind of close to them, and I just got to see them light up the sky, light up everything around them. And something was happening that I never really felt before, and the huge bursts and explosions, the sounds that the fireworks made, there was just this feeling of celebration that I can't remember ever feeling. And I think part of that is, for the most part, I spent 20 years between New York City and Los Angeles, and you'd get a friend's rooftop on an apartment, and you'd just get to watch the city, and you'd see the fireworks exploding all through the skyline, and it was really beautiful. But I don't think you feel close to the sense of celebration. And I think this was the first time since getting more into the country that I really just got to feel that. And I was like, wow, I get it. I get that celebration, the spirit. I see the glory of people who were very scared of what was about to happen. They're taking on the biggest empire in the world. And that is something to be proud of, I think. And that, you're part of that. You're part of the adventure. You're part of the courage, that bravery. And that was just all kind of hitting me. It was very, very interesting. I just kind of stepped out to see them. It wasn't something I planned. And then I just got hit with all of this. And I felt very open to it. I felt open to those spirits that I think come up to haunt us. And I think it's a very sad thing to ignore all that happened. And people have all their different reasons for doing it. I get it. But I do consider myself into the mystical, into the haunted, into the spiritual. And I think this is a profoundly haunted and spiritual holiday. And I'm very, very happy about it. I mean, all through my life, there were certain classes in school that I was terrible at, and then there were some that saved me. Art brought my average up. Acting brought my average up. Writing eventually brought my average up. And American history, of all things, which is kind of interesting. I probably blame Walt Disney for that. Blame/thank. I remember going to Disneyland and just enjoying that animatronic Abe Lincoln as he's giving that beautiful speech in there. And I'm like, oh my God, that's Abraham Lincoln. And then I would fast forward a few months, I'd be back in school, we'd be doing American history, and I would suddenly be enraptured hearing the stories. I was just this kid, I always loved stories, and there are just, American history and those battles have amazing stories. And so many characters that are larger than life and so exciting, and just what a exciting time. I mentioned the Sons of Liberty before in another video. It's just really cool. Anyway, it's a beautiful holiday, and I think that whatever reasons you have for celebrating or not celebrating it, that's up to you. But it doesn't matter. There's still a rich history involved with it, and it is a fantastic moment of independence, and that would change the world, and I would say would bring civilization for the better to a new part of its destiny. And I think that encased within that history is always something worth learning about us. And I think it is a victory against the forces of cynicism, which I've said in my Ghost in the Gaslight website. I see this as a refuge from cynicism. I'm not a fan of where cynicism, sarcasm goes in the modern era. I think people just get too into it, and it is the opposite of creative, in my opinion. So the first story is from Martinsburg, West Virginia, and this involves a family outing, a family picnic that was made annually around a old campground, or it was used as a campground during the Civil War, in which the Union and Confederate armies clashed in all these bloody battles, and is near, I believe, the Ohio and Baltimore railroads. And this family goes out, it's the 1970s, and their father, of course, recounts these stories of the violent history there, as fathers do. That's your job. And the kids, with their rich imagination, they get to watching the fireworks later that night. And strangely, they get this odd whiff of gunpowder. Now, don't ask me how these kids happen to know the smell of gunpowder in the 1970s, but who knows? Maybe their dad works with it or something. I think that's really interesting. But then they also hear a whisper behind them that says, "Fall back, fall back, fall back." And the kids get, understandably kind of spooked, and they run to their dad and they say what happened. And he says, "It's nothing, just enjoy the fireworks." And then they go back to their tent. And then later that night, the kids scream, the parents wake up in their tent, the kids run back, and they're saying, "Mom, Dad, we just saw a ghost." And the dad is saying, wait, what are you talking about? What did you see? And they say, "We saw a man. He's over there at the edge of the forest." And they look, they don't see anything, and they say, "Tell us about this man you saw." And they say, "Well, he was dressed in gray, like kind of old clothes, and they were really tattered, and he was bloody." And they're basically describing an old Confederate soldier. And the dad is kind of freaked out by it. He goes out to see, he's at the edge of the forest, but he's keeping his family close. It's kind of weird telling this around trees and everything. I'm wondering if there's someone around, But then as the dad, gets back to town and he starts talking, of course, the kids are saying everything that they saw, and word starts to get around. And then they hear from the locals around there that, "Oh, you saw the soldier." And they're like, "What?" "Oh, there's this Confederate soldier that people report about seeing, and he seems to be wandering the old campground, reliving the traumatic history that took his life." It was pretty wild, huh? So I thought that was a pretty cool story. And then, let's see, so this next story also takes place in West Virginia. It's a very haunted place. What can I say? Actually, I can say I have attested to its strange goings on as I've experienced them myself. It was years ago, but that's not really a 4th of July story. I might go into that another time. Anyway, this teenager goes to West Virginia in the early 80s and hears this very strange tale with ghostly ramifications, which involves a young girl who gets into a car with a strange man on the 4th of July. And she's never heard from again until, sadly, her body is discovered. And, sorry, you always have to hold for that. I feel like there's no place in the world for bicyclists. So she's usually spotted every 4th of July. And what does she look like? Usually she is in a white dress and she's standing on the tracks with very hollow eyes of sorrow. That's the quote. Kind of spooky. And security guards around the railroad tracks are told to avoid the railroad tracks every 4th of July, as there is a suspicion that she is looking for some kind of dark justice to visit on people. So that's another one. My favorite tree. These oak trees, I grew up with these. Anyways, this is the last story on this little video, which follows Fort Mifflin, the exploits of it. And 1777, the year after the Declaration happens, and there's a campaign the British have to take out this fort because the strategic placement of this particular fort, Mifflin, was such that it protected Philadelphia from the British armies. And there is this huge attack on it. It's able to withstand it, but many people die. Now, we fast forward to the bicentennial, 1976, and people are at the fort and they're celebrating these great, this fireworks display. And they're enjoying the music, particularly the drums. You'll take a person, one such, spectator is just hearing those great drums from that era, like they've got those, when they roll out people in costume and they go, oh, this is great. Every time I hear those kinds of drums, what a great idea. It transports me. And they're saying this to the person next to him. And the person next to him is like, what drums are you talking about? And this guy's like, those drums, don't those get you going? And they're like, no, I don't. Wait, you don't hear any drums at all? And they kind of go back and forth. He goes to another person, come on, this guy doesn't hear these drums. The other person doesn't hear the drums either. And then this guy is going around and he's, what drums are you talking about? And he's starting to feel like he's going crazy because he hears them. And then he meets someone else who hears the drums. And they're like, wait, you hear the drums? And the other person says, I've been asking everyone. And he says, yeah, me too. How come? And then they start, it's like some people are hearing the drums, but most people are not hearing them. Well, again, go to the locals and they start learning some of the lore, some of the history. Some people would call it superstition. But they all say that it's the phantom drummer who they believe was a soldier of the Revolutionary War, War of Independence. And he died in those bombardments in 1777. And they believe he surfaces every 4th of July to beat a steady drum beat for the people who perished and to celebrate the birth of the nation he fought for. Kind of glorious and kind of spooky, right? So that's the phantom drummer of Fort Mifflin. So fun little video with ghost stories, and I'm in the midst of making my part 2 Frankenstein film in which he falls for the Arctic mermaid. I am really getting close, and it's been such a journey. But this 4th of July, I had to step out and just celebrate some, beautiful holiday that also has its own set of ghosts. And like I said, I would absolutely love to do a little more of an ambitious 4th of July type project soon, because it is rife with ghostly possibilities. Well, that does it for today. Feel free to check out the website, the old haunted website, ghostinthegaslight.com. You can collect originals, you can collect prints, get yourself some Ghost in the Gaslight merch. Any way you support me is great, even if you just smash this like button. Also, you can check out the Substack and read some of my original long-form ghost stories. Link is in the description. All right, well, that's enough for today. Hope you enjoyed this video and that you'll enjoy this one too.